Okay.
Yo,
What's up, Luke?
you're live. What's cooking, my man?
How you doing?
Doing good, dude. Happy
Well,
Friday.
happy Friday, May 1st. And uh, yeah, yeah. So I just got back from that long trip from Hawaii last week. 4 islands, 5 markets. I did a different market every single day. It was cool to go see the islands to get the feel of each island. God, there's a movie. What's it called? Divergent. You ever seen Divergent?
I
It's a
don't think
move. It's a
so.
dystopian future where they take the population and they divide them in classes. One's like the military, one's the smart people, one's the farmers, and that's
Okay.
uh, that's what it reminds me of. You you go to Maui. That's like Orange County. That's Maui. You go to Oahu. That's like LA. That's the that's the that's the city.
Yeah.
You go to the big island of Hawaii, where it's because I went to Kona and I went to Hilo, the cities, and that's more of the rural area. And I went to Kauai. I was only to Kauai for like just a day. I flew in the morning, I flew out in the afternoon, but that's like the rainforest. It is a rainforest. So, but it was cool. But I didn't. So I call it my taste test because I got to go in and I just got to check out all the places and so on. If I go back, if I do go back, I'm only going to go to Maui and and anyone who wants to come from those other. That's a thing. That what made it
Yeah.
hard is I've dropped into a state before and went on a road trip,
Right.
but when you drop into Hawaii, you have to actually take a flight into
Right.
each one. So imagine a flight that you'd always because you've taken a flight from Orange County to San Francisco,
Right.
right? So that's what it's like. You still have to go through TSA, you still have to do your luggage, you still have to go through sit at the airport. So
Dude.
it's like every single day having to go from imagine every day you flew from Orange County to San Francisco back to Orange County back to it's that's what it was like.
Exhausting. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it was fun nonetheless.
I continue to get more and more data because I delivered the session that would not be new to you. I talk about the modern consumer journey, authority attraction, getting away from interruption prospecting. And what I've continued to validate is that agents are agents are agents are agents. Real estate
Hmm.
is real estate is real estate is real estate. It's not like the stuff that I'm talking about are things that you and I have talked about for a dozen years. And it's new to this. It's still new. Well, I'm preaching to the choir because that's what your whole business is built upon is lead generation, a modern lead generation. So I don't think I'm saying anything new to you by any means.
It's funny how your analogy or comparison of like the different islands to different parts of California are this is orange. It's funny how distinctively different things can be, even like being so close in proximity, but two totally separate entities in and of themselves.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I'm working on, I have to go to the Inland Empire. No, actually, the High Desert next week. I'm filling in to speak at a commercial conference, an annual commercial conference, and they're
Okay.
bringing the. I'm filling in for a speaker, but giving the 2026 residential outlook. So I'm preparing for that. It's a little bit different than what I would normally prepare for, simply because it's just a financial outlook. I look at that anyways because in my role, my focus is, and same with you, is working with real estate agents, mortgage professionals on how to generate leads and how to push business and push closings today.
Hmm.
And in order to do that today, you have to have a good understanding of which direction the wind's blowing, the economy. And I want to share something with you that I came up with, if I can find my my chart. But it's talking about, I have to dive in to see, oh, there it is. I have to dive in to see where the interest rates are at. And what your the original the original presentation had Q3 2025 data, and it said that only 20% of mortgages are under 3%. Actually, I can probably share this window with you. I haven't set that up, but um, nothing here is branded. So
So
let me
20% of total debt
mortgages, yeah.
mortgages.
So yeah, we can call it debt.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me see if this is the right screen to go to. That's the wrong one. Okay, let me move that over to here. And it's very telling what I'm going to show you, because like I it's no different than the talk track I typically use. The only difference is when I'm doing it on a stage like this, I have to validate the sources, especially when there's an economist who's closing the show down. So I definitely don't want I definitely want to be right on
have
the
have have some close relevant uh closely relevant to what they're. By the way, before you present, I just want to kind of make sure that our data is somewhat in alignment.
yeah. Here I'm going to
So you're so presenting to, or working with commercial, is this more of kind of like an overlay of the the residential component and trends that you're seeing there as it would pertain to impacting commercial, like, hey, people aren't returning to work, they're staying at home, office space is going to continue to be impacted from
kind
type
of
type of approach.
what I'm really going to take it from the angle is that when you look at residential is the foundation. It's no different than what the people in the room are going to be doing. But when you're looking at um, residential, like, the people who are being hired, they have houses. And whether or not, or they live somewhere, the commercial, the clients and such, they live somewhere and they own or rent. And whether or not they buy or not buy is dependent on how they feel about their job and
Hmm.
how secure they feel about their job and their income that's coming in. And whether or not a commercial building is developed has to do with density, and they do that by rooftops. So, everything is tied together.
Right.
So it's good to see the underlying residential outlook. Number one, I think there's probably a lot more data, lot more granular data. I don't know because I don't really dive into the commercial sector, but it's interesting because no one's going to go build an office building. No one's going to go and build an apartment complex without underlying residential data. So that's really the angle I'm taking. But here's what I wanted to share with you. So, and I compared. I'm trying to validate. I just got the Q4 2025 data from Gemini, and I'm trying to
Hmm.
find the actual source. And like any other
Yeah.
government report, I'm having a hard time. I have to go through this door to go through that door to go through this door. So I may not even actually use this and just use the 2024 data because that's already been sourced. I just can't
Yeah.
find it. But you'll see under 3% was 20%, moved down not three, but, 0.3 points. 3 to 4, 31.5, move down. 4 to 5, move down. The only thing that has an uptrend, and this is quarter over quarter. This isn't a
Yeah.
large, but you can see here it went from 10.2 to 10.6 in just a quarter, and then 21.2 to 21.9 in a quarter. So collectively, what is that? That's point 0.4, zero point 0.6. So one full percentage point move into higher rates, which is coming from here. So what that's showing is that the rate lock era from that sub 3%, it's
Yeah.
starting to erode, which means people are selling, people are
Yeah.
refinancing. I haven't looked at the number yet, and I don't think I will, because that's just gonna, I like going down this rabbit hole, but I don't like going down this rabbit hole because I know my personality. But I would be interested to see how many people actually refinanced out of these sub 5% rates into a 5 or more percent rate,
Yeah.
because that's going to show a good number of where households are stretched, you know?
Was that a year and a quarter or a year, or because you had Q3 2024 and then Q4 2025?
Typo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 20,
Just
it's one quarter. So it's 2020 twenty
okay.
five data. Thanks for
2025.
calling that out.
Q
I probably
Q3 to
won't use that
Q4.
data. I've spent already way too much. I was doing that before we came onto this podcast, and I feel like
Okay.
I've reached that level. The amount of time I'm spending into it for the amount of time
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about it on screen
You're like, you
versus
know
am
what?
I going to be going over this?
Not
Yeah,
and
I'm not going to do that.
man, I feel you there.
But here's an
The amount of
interesting
time.
slide. Here's another interesting slide. Is that interest rates peaked in January 2025 at 7%, and
Okay.
there's been no down. You hear the narrative. You hear some real estate people saying that rates are going to drop. Honest to God, I don't see how. Um, I think that's strictly an opinion. The major Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, um, all of these main National Association of Home Builders, they're all saying that 6% is going to be like the baseline. My take on it, because I listen to Peter Schiff, is I think it's more likely that rates are going to be going up. So anyone who thinks rates are going to go down is, I hope they're not basing their business plan on that, because that's not what this is. That's not what this is showing. This is showing that it's going back up.
Got a little bit of an uptrend, not necessarily a trend, but a blip. It's still, I mean, if I look at that, it looks like a downward trend.
It's a
Um,
downward trend, but
with the
now it's
with the
starting to go back
with
up.
the uptick. So if it's like, are we is there confirmation rounding the corner, or so? Yeah, I mean, just like you always say, can't control the wind. We just need to adjust our sails, right?
That's all we can do. Like, and I actually have that slide in here, and um, one of the things that my colleague says, who I'm filling in for, he always says, control your controllables. And my saying is that you always have to adjust your sail to the wind. So we're really saying the same thing.
Yep.
And what's happening with mortgages? There's nothing you and I can do. Like, there's not even a little bit that we can do. Like, there's absolutely zero things that you and I can do besides complain about it when it comes to mortgage rates. Another thing let me show you this one. I got to show you all the cool stuff that I'm coming across. Um, Look at this. Since 2020, incomes have gone up 26%. Median home prices have gone up 45%. Mortgage payments gone up 82%. Now that's telling, but what's more telling is this next slide. 75%, according to the National Association of Home Builders, 75% of US households, they can't afford the median price home. That's why we
Yep.
went from 6 million homes down to down to 4 million. And
It's
judging from those
brutal.
interest rates, look, people are always saying that interest rates need to fall. Do they? Like, if we went back down to 3% based on where prices are at right now, do we
Yeah,
honestly think that the 75, any of those 75% of those people, is it going to make that big of a difference for them to afford the house going back down to 3% when
yeah,
home prices have increased 2 times that as income?
right. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of factors. I need to bring back the starter home concept. It seems like everybody, that all the starter homes are, 3,000 square feet,
That
right?
thing is just even, yeah, that whole concept is just interesting to me. A starter home.
Right.
I just think that's interesting to me. I mean, it's such a big. I mean, even if you look at the starter home, if that brought back, I mean, look at what it would be cost to build. Look at what oil's doing. Like I took a picture to and sent it to my wife. It cost me $105 to fill up my 13-gallon tank, and um, gas is pushing $7 here. It's like six. It was 6.67 or something like that. So you throw that into transportation, you throw that into what everything is to cost, and then throw that into what it's going to cost to build a house. These home builders, they've got to have margins. They've got to have margins. Like
Yeah.
you and I are, we're okay with people profiting. I don't think anyone needs
Oh
to
yeah.
work for zero, and they need to have those margins. And with where wages are at, with where, I mean, just the cost of living. I mean, take the debt service out of it and look at what you have left over to live on, and how everything else is going up from there. So no, so here's my thing. I wasn't doom and gloom. I was talking to the agents on Maui, and for this organization, out of the 4 islands, the majority of the top producing, the majority of the agents are on the island of Maui.
Hmm.
And there's 700 agents total for the four islands. Half, more than half of them are on the island of Maui. And what the leadership shared with me is that their units are down 75%. So it used to be 40 units selling, just for example, if they had 40 units selling traditionally, now it's 10.
Wow.
And that's kind of a big deal. And so what I had, but I also know that for this island, they have 23% of market share. For the other islands, they have like 10%. So my talk track was the same. I just changed the number. I say, look, nothing you can do is going to change the interest rates, is going to change demand, is going to change anything. I said, but what you can change is focusing on, for the Maui, the 75% plus of market share you don't have. And for these other
Yeah.
ones, the 90% plus. And I said, that's where your game plan has to be. None of them are doing lead generation with a free report. That's what I mean, it's like I showed them the combustion engine from, that they live in a horse and carriage like time. And I just showed them the combustion. No, I just showed them the SpaceX engine, man. It was just, it was mind blowing to everyone. Not the concept, because everybody's done
Yeah.
that. Everyone's downloaded a free report, and that's part of my talk track. But how to put it together.
I imagine like, you know, the, top people for whatever market that you're in at the time, like top performers, they have, wildly different, but also at the same time similar approaches to growing their business. I would assume most of those people are pretty entrenched, long-term folks there still operating on, what worked for them in the past. And, with that momentum, it's great. But it did you I mean, it's a super duper interesting market because it makes me, you know, curious about, like, okay, what are the outlier agents doing there? Are they doing anything different? Um, I feel
No,
like
they're
if
not. They're not. And what I'm going to say next is not going to be news to you because you live it. Most agents get their business from their sphere of influence. It's like
yeah,
80, like if I were to go back and really crunch the data, you're probably looking at, like, for most top producers, 80% of their business comes from, if not more, comes from their sphere of influence. And in a market, and they don't have a way to generate, to increase their size of their sphere of influence. And what I had said to them is, when you focus on your sphere of influence, we don't have to worry about when people get to know them, like them, trust them, clearly they're converting them into business. So I don't
yeah,
think that we have to worry about the existing database at a certain level from that point in the work, from the the journey to closing. I said, but here's the challenge that we have. In a expanding market, your sphere of influence this big is going to come across a lot of people that are looking to sell or buy, and then they're going to refer them. So in an expanding market, people get more referral
yeah,
business and they do more transactions. I said, but the opposite is true as well, is that in a compressing market, that dries up as well, because your database stays the same. So I said, the only option you have is to increase your database with a colder audience. And then you have to warm up that audience in order to get to the level where they're going to know you, like you, and trust you to do business with you.
right,
And I said, I said, look, I'm here to help all of you and your organization. I'm not here to help every other real estate agent that competes with you in the market. So if you have 10% of the market share, what I'm saying is that we have to go after and get the 90% that you don't have, and that's going to affect their business. And uh God, I can't remember what the agent said. Something about, taking away business from competitors. I said, look, what would happen if you guys just went from 10% to 20%? I'm like, we're not trying to take over, we're not trying to take over the whole pie. I'm like, we just
yeah,
want to take 20%, leave 80% to everybody else. Like, I think that's very giving. We're not trying to dominate I mean, we are, but I think we live in
yeah,
a different day and age. If you go back 30 years, even when I'm 26 years in the business, so I was coming in on the tail end of this. 26 years ago, when I got in the business, there were people who specialized in certain neighborhoods, like, to the point where it was gnarly. If they caught you marketing that, they would give a phone call to you and they would, like, hey, get out of my neighborhood. Like, it was that's how it
right.
was. And not anymore,
That's
man.
wild to me now. It's like,
Yeah.
excuse you? I
Yeah.
didn't know you owned this.
How dare you send postcards to my neighborhood?
Is What in the world?
I
Ah, man. I'm
every
sure
time
there's a
now.
little bit. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm sure there's, like, I I can see a market like Hawaii being a little bit different, where there's, like, a a nuance, like they have a little bit more values of, like, respecting each other. And you know so I could see the resistance to, like, the concept of taking business away
You would
other
you would
folks.
think, but I mean, that was the outlier comment, and I don't think everybody agreed with that. I think technology has been really, really great to allow people like you and me and everyone else to expand their reach.
Hmm.
But I also think that the negative side of that is that people are taking it too far, and it's eliminated the local expert, which is what that's what the consumer is looking for. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't think, and the data supports it as well, is that people aren't looking for generalists, they're looking for specialists. And that 100% of buyers, when they're looking to buy, they're using the internet. We know what they're looking for. They're spending a lot of time in their discovery phase. So there's a really big opportunity in real estate for what you do, what I do at the corporate level, but you're more into the tech side of things. But you throw into the fact that the average real estate agent is early 60s, like 64. Top producer, someone who's been in the business for a while that's actually doing business, and you'll recognize it's harder for a seasoned agent who started their business with a rotary phone and door knocking and traditional aspects than it
Yeah.
is for a new agent who's known nothing different.
Right.
The experienced agent has a database and they understand the business. The new agent doesn't have a database and they don't understand the business. So there's there's opposite challenges on each end. But I just find that you look at these newer agents that are coming in and they're doing really great. Where they're getting their business is from YouTube and social media.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
TikTok,
So
YouTube,
yeah,
Instagram. I
yeah.
mean, it's yeah, for sure. Infopreneur.
Infopreneur, infotainer,
Yeah.
edutainer. I mean, that's really the things that you have to do. I let people know. I'm like, look, there's one platform that transcends all demographics. I'm like, do you guys know what that is? And of course, some of them say Facebook, some of them say TikTok. I'm like, nope, it's YouTube. I'm like, if you're going to choose one platform to go on, actually two platforms, I said, create a Google profile, business profile, and start creating content on YouTube. And I said, you have
Right.
to get over yourself and just recognize the fact that the first video dudes are going to suck. So is the second one. So is the third one. No one's going to watch them anyways, but it's the cool, it's accumulation of those videos that are
Yeah.
going to help. Dude, how long have I been talking about that grid, about the area, the neighborhood, and the property?
Yeah.
Like, like
Forever.
I've been saying that forever, and I can count on one of my hands that somebody's actually done it even slightly to that level. In fact, I think I've hinted in the back in some of our past conversations that I need to do my own case study and just do it myself.
You made firm commitments in the sand that you were going to do it
It
on
wasn't it
numerous
wasn't even a
occasions.
mention.
Like, I am doing this starting on this date. I'm going to do
And that
this
day,
many
and then that day came and
videos.
gone.
And it's like, and then I said, ooh, shiny object.
Yeah,
Oh, we're
yeah,
all guilty of it. I
it's
have
true.
projects sitting on my war map for years where I'm like, I'm definitely doing that this year. This is going to be my number one priority, and it's the wind
But I
blows.
got to tell you though, and I wanted to talk to you about this. We'll have to do it for next week. AI, the way that I've been using it lately with Alfred and the various different things, I got to tell you, from a minimum perspective, I have 10x my my workload.
Yeah,
Like what I can do in a day, the way that I have things set up, is 10 times what I could have done even just
right.
a month ago. It's
Yeah,
wild.
it's mind blowing.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And I think that gives an advantage for those. It actually really gives a good insight on how screwed people are who don't start adopting AI, even at the small level. You have to
Hmm.
adapt. You just have to stay ahead of your competition. And in
Yeah.
real estate, there's a certain demographic, there's a certain level of competition, there's a certain level of implementation. So I don't think that. you go into like like maybe any other, like a different segment, and they're using AI much more prevalent. But you come into real estate, like
Yeah.
if you just have it like looking at your email and managing your account, your day, I mean, you're already
Right.
ahead of people. So that's where you come in. That's where you and your services come in.
Yeah, man. It's mind blowing. I'm balancing the human to AI struggle internally. Like I feel like there's going to be with the capacity for anybody to build anything and operate and do stuff. Like people are just going to need to get really good at sales, because I feel like that is still going to be a component of things. So my my AI and labor are about at parity right now. So we'll
There
see.
was a study that came out, and then I know that we're at time, but there's a study that came out that said that 40% of consumers, I can't remember, maybe I think it may have related to real estate, but 48% of consumers, they would be willing to pay a premium for a human to evaluate the AI portion of it. I'll see what that said and I'll
Yeah,
send that to you. So, all right, we'll dive into that next Friday, my friend.
let's get it, my man.
All right, have a good week.
Adios.
Bye.